mixtape. Is he good or is he great? Is he getting turned to horse, cat, and gin, it's turned to Drizzy Drake? Whoa! Shit.
Due to some like issue with Nicki, whatever it was, decided to create a narrative that I don't write my own music.
Allegedly, Meek and Nicki, they go to the mall, right? Apparently Meek got like 20 racks like in a bag or something, like some designer bag. Nicki and him, they go shopping, so they shut down the store. Then they go to pay for it. Everything they pick out comes to $38,000. And apparently Meek looks at Nicki and says, hey, you want to pay for this on your card and I'll give you blah blah back, right? And Nicki looks at him and says, yeah, Drake wouldn't do no shit like this.
I know that you gotta be a thug for it. This ain't what she meant when she told you to open up more. Yeah, trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. Yeah, you getting body by singing in the.
For just $2, you can watch this video uncut and ad-free. Check out my Patreon in the description below. In the early 2010s, Drake had taken over hip-hop with the release of his debut album Thank Me Later in the summer of 2010. Drake had been buzzing since the late 2000s, and everyone knew he was next. Another up-and-coming rapper, hailing from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by the name of Meek Mill, would begin gaining traction after the release of multiple mixtapes. On August 24th, 2008, Meek Mill released his legendary mixtape Flamers. He followed up with the Flamers 2, Hottest in the City, on February 24th, 2009. Meek Mill would come back later that year with his mixtape Flamers 2.5 The Preview on October 13th, 2009. Meek Mill was on fire after these tapes got around, and people were waiting on the third installment of the Flamers series. And Meek would deliver his mixtape Flamers 3, The Wait Is Over, on March 12th, 2010. After this, Meek Mill would become one of the hottest free agents in hip-hop. In February of 2011, Meek Mill had signed to Rick Ross's Maybach Music Group label. Meek Mill would release 2 singles upon signing, Tupac Back featuring Rick Ross, and the smash hit I'm a Boss. This song went crazy on NBA 2K13. Later that summer, on August 11th, 2011, Meek Mill dropped his legendary mixtape Dream Chasers, which would be a massive success and featured the smash hit House Party. Meek Mill used the 50 Cent formula and became one of the hottest rappers off of mixtapes. Meek would of course catch the attention of Drake, who took a liking to Meek's music. In October 2011, Drake announced his Club Paradise tour would take place in 2012. Meek Mill would be listed to appear on tour in 2 legs of the North American portion. Meek would eventually perform alongside Drake, as Drake would deliver a speech while on this tour, giving praise to Meek Mill, Kendrick Lamar, and more. After this, Drake and Meek Mill would hit the studio and record their first collaboration. On May 7th, 2012, Meek Mill dropped the second installment in the Dream Chaser series, and on this mixtape is a track called Amen featuring Drake, marking their first collab song together. This track would be released as a single on June 12th, 2012, and appeared on Meek's debut album Dreams and Nightmares on October 30th, 2012. Meek Mill absolutely could not miss in this time period and would drop the anticipated Dream Chasers 3 on September 29th, 2013. The next year, on April 30th, 2014, Drake put out a tweet praising Meek's Dreams and Nightmares intro, saying, "Dreams and Nightmares intro, really one of the best rap moments of our generation." Meek's momentum would come to a screeching halt after this. While working on his second album, Dreams Worth More Than Money, after multiple probation violations, on July 11th, 2014, Meek Mill's probation was revoked and he was sentenced to 3 to 6 months in jail. After his incarceration, Drake was seen wearing a Free Meek Mill shirt in support of his friend. On August 4th, 2014, Nicki Minaj dropped her track Anaconda. A couple of weeks later, on August 19th, she would drop the music video for the track. And in this video, there's a scene where Nicki seems to be giving Drake a good time. In late 2014, while on tour with Lil Wayne, dubbed as the Drake vs. Lil Wayne tour, during a stop in Meek's hometown of Philly, Drake and Lil Wayne would pay tribute to Meek Mill.
Free Meek Mill, man. Philly Jersey, we love y'all for real.
Meek would be released from jail on December 2nd, 2014. Upon his release, Drake would show his support on Twitter for Meek, to which Meek would retweet the post. Meek would then begin the rollout for his anticipated second album, Dreams Worth More Than Money. That summer, on June 29th, 2015, Meek Mill would release his second studio album, Dreams Worth More Than Money. On this album is a track titled Rico, featuring none other than Drake. After the release of this album is when the beef would officially begin. But how did it start? Now, there are a couple different stories as to how the beef began. The first reason is that in Drake's opening lines on their track Rico, Meek thought that Drake may have been taking shots at him because at the time, Meek Mill was in a relationship with Nicki Minaj, so perhaps Meek thought Drake was dissing him when Drake said this.
Old ways, new women, gotta keep a balance. The girl of your dreams to me is probably not a challenge.
Another side claims that Meek Mill was frustrated that Drake did not post his album on social media in support when he dropped. Now, the third side of this story doesn't really get talked about enough. Now, this is just speculation, but on the evening of July 21st, 2015, Meek Mill and his then girlfriend Nicki Minaj were allegedly at the mall. While shopping together, Meek allegedly had $20,000 in cash on him, but the clothes that they both picked out came out to $38,000 together. Meek then allegedly asked Nicki to pay for it on her card, promising her that he'll give her the money back. Now, Nicki Minaj allegedly looked at him and said that Drake wouldn't ever ask her to do that. Then Nicki separated her own stuff from Meek's, paid it with her card, and left. Meek would then pay for his own stuff, and Nicki took the car service and left. Meek would then go home by himself, and allegedly, in the car ride home, he went on his infamous Twitter rant towards Drake.
But allegedly, and I just think it's a different angle, because I've always wondered, right, what happened that led Meek to say that, right? I've heard that Meek, Nicki, and maybe Wayne or somebody was in the studio, and basically Meek is hearing Drake, and it's like, you talking about Nicki or something like that? He kind of starts getting mad, start calling Nicki, he started making calls, till basically Drama says, nah, he's not talking about blah blah, he's talking about, no, it's another, we're getting rolled it, you feel me? And it's Quentin, whatever, right? And then reference tracks came out, whatever. But allegedly, Meek and Nicki, they go to the mall, right? Apparently Meek got like 20 racks like in a bag or something, like some designer bag. Nicki and him, they go shopping, so they shut down the store. They go shopping. They pick out all types of shit. Then they go to pay for it. Now, apparently Meek had like 20 racks in a bag. Everything they pick out comes to $38,000. Meek don't even look like a nigga who carry a card with him. Like, he don't even look like a credit card. Apparently, they tell him it's 38, and apparently Meek looks at Nicki and says, hey, you want to pay for this on your card and I'll give you blah blah back, right? I hear Nicki snaps, and Nicki looks at him and says, Drake wouldn't done this shit. Yeah, Drake wouldn't do no shit like this. Something like that, right? So she supposedly separates her shit from his, pays with her card, she dips. Meek is left in the store, counting out his 20 racks, paying for his shit. And by the way, this is no saying that he's broke or something like that. This is against fucking rich too. You know what I mean? Again, this always got cash on him, right? Pays for his shit too. Nicki takes the car service, dips. You feel me? And Meek is left to go home by himself. So, like, I guess on his way home, Meek tweets out, stop comparing me to Drake. He don't write his own raps. That's why he ain't and that's when he goes off. That's alleged. I don't know where it came from. It sounds, it plays into this tweet. It does. I don't know. I'm just saying. Plays into this tweet.
Nonetheless, that night on July 21st, Meek took to Twitter to publicly diss Drake and alleged that Drake had a ghostwriter named Quentin Miller. Quote, dweebs, lol. Dude's so fake you could blow they cover in 2 days. Stop comparing me to Drake too. He don't even write his own raps. That's why he ain't tweet my album, because we found out. The whole game know for real. They scared to tell the truth. I can't wait till these guys sit back and act like they don't know. He ain't even write that verse on my album, and if I would've knew, I would've took it off my album. I don't trick my fans, lol. Don't compare me to none of these cats that don't write their own raps either, lol. And it ain't about no tweet. He ain't post my album, and he on it because he know we found out. It's so much to it, lol. Then he just put out a tweet simply saying Quentin Miller's name. Other artists know though? Lil Wayne and Nicki know. Ask them. They gon' act like they don't see them tweets. Less than 24 hours later, on July 22nd, 2015, Drake would respond when rapper Hitman Holla would share a DM from Drake telling him to keep killing it, to which Drake replied, I signed up for greatness. This comes with it. The next day, Funkmaster Flex allegedly leaked an alleged reference track that Quentin Miller recorded for Drake's track 10 Bands from his project If You're Reading This It's Too Late. 2 days later, on July 24th, Quentin Miller would address the accusations of being Drake's alleged ghostwriter in a Tumblr post, writing, I am not and never will be a ghostwriter for Drake. I'm proud to say that we've collaborated, but I can never take credit for anything other than the few songs we worked on together. That same day, Funk Flex took to Twitter claiming he has 3 more Drake reference tracks, writing, there are 3 more reference tracks that guys quote-unquote collaborated on. This ain't about Meek or Drake, this about an art. If Jay or Nas had a reference track, I would feel and act the same way. Drake would then decide to take this beef to wax. The next day, on July 25th, 2015, Drake would premiere a track called Charged Up on his Beats One OVO Sound radio show. On this track, Drake would respond to Meek Mill, and this beef would officially take to wax. The first verse, Drake opens up saying that he did charity for kids, which has a double meaning, because Drake was attending a charity kickball game while Meek Mill was going on his Twitter tirade, and basically saying that Meek is a charity case and needed him to be featured on the album to sell records.
I did some charity today for the kids, but I'm used to it cause all y'all charity cases.
On the second verse, Drake once again alludes to Meek's tweets.
You boys are getting into your feelings on me. You should embrace it, this could be one of our realest moments.
Then Drake says that he's done doing favors for people and references how he didn't need the money to appear on Meek's album, but did it out of love. Then Drake says that Meek is struggling to go gold.
Done doing favors for people, cause it ain't like I need the money I make off a feature. I see you niggas having trouble going gold.
On the third verse, Drake responds to rumors about hooking up with Nicki Minaj.
Rumor has it I either fucked her or never could.
Meek reacted to the track later that night on Twitter, writing, Baby Lotion Soft. I can tell he wrote that one though. Later that night, Meek Mill would respond to Drake, dissing him during a performance on Nicki Minaj's Pink Print tour while at a stop in Brooklyn.
When it comes to this real shit, train chases. You know, I was doing my album, and I asked the nigga to give me a verse for my album. And nigga gave me a verse for my album, but he gave me a verse that he didn't write that another wrote. Where I come from, I represent the motherfucking gang. I represent the motherfucking streets. If you ain't with me, you ain't got to act like we with me. I got the motherfucking streets with me for life. If you came up from nothing and you chasing your motherfucking dreams, make some fucking noise in this. If you chase, train chases. I was on Instagram, I was on Twitter or something yesterday, and they said, go ahead, nigga, $5 for you. I heard that shit was very soft. Baby lotion soft. We ain't gonna focus too much energy on that. But I'm gonna let you know, when it comes to this rap shit, Biggie and Tupac had to die to be the motherfucking greatest. If you gonna be the motherfucking greatest in this shit, just make sure you doing your motherfucking pin game and keeping it all the way up on. Cause there's levels to the shit.
2 days later, on July 29th, 2015, Drake dropped yet another track premiering on OVO Sound Radio called Back to Back, where he would take aim at Meek Mill. On the track, Drake starts off saying that Meek left him no other option but to diss him, and saying that he waited 4 days after Charged Up for Meek to drop a response diss record.
If you left the boy no options, you gon' make me go out of my fucking way. I waited 4 days, and the way y'all left.
Then Drake spit the infamous lines about Meek Mill going on tour with Nicki Minaj and being the opening act, and referenced Nicki's track By a Heart, where Nicki rapped about her fear of jumping in a relationship with Meek, wanting him to open up to her.
You love her, then you gotta get a world tour. Is that a world tour or your girl's tour?
Then Drake referenced Meek's tweets about him, saying that Meek is getting bodied by a singer. Drake says that Nicki Minaj better hit Meek Mill with a prenup if they get married.
Trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. Yeah, you getting bodied by singing again.
Drake would put out a tweet that same night simply writing "Scary Hours." After this, Meek Mill would finally respond in a crazy way. On July 30th, 2015, Funkmaster Flex on Hot 97 premiered Meek Mill's response diss track titled "Wanna Know." Meek sampled The Undertaker's WWE theme song and an alleged reference track of Quentin Miller rapping Drake's song "Know Yourself."
I just wanna know if you ain't right there running through the six. Tell us who the fuck was queen running through the six with.
A couple of days later, on August 3rd, 2015, at the annual OVO Fest, Drake performed Charged Up and Back to Back while Meek Mill memes were being shown on a screen behind him. Drake would even tease a third diss record towards Meek called 3-Peat when he would rap the lyrics on stage, saying that Meek ain't ready for that 3-Peat.
Trying to take from a nigga, open with the kid and pray for you, nigga, man. And he ain't ready for that 3-Peat. Nah, he don't want that 3-Peat. Nah, he don't want that 3-Peat. Dealing with these niggas, man, it take a lot. Being said, open chasing when we taking shots. Look, man, I said he don't want that 3-Peat.
3 days later, on August 6th, while at a stop in Philly on the Pink Print Tour, Meek Mill would go off on Drake live on stage, even claiming that Drake has testified in the past.
I've been looking on the most productive internet, and I've been seeing a lot of this niggas agreeing with fake busted ass shit. If you from Philly and you rock with Meek Mill, he makes some You don't want to see my Philly niggas hanging out the window like we trying to spot Ricky. And shout out to the niggas that show me they not with me. Said I don't think it's about no rapping, it's about Nicki. He told us he was first in line, but it got tricky. I still wake up with the lady that you said you first in line with. Then 5 months came home, that's perfect timing. To make a sucker nigga look sucker without trying. If Queen Miller broke that shit, why would we buy it? Why? Might as well go and get his tape. Is he good or is he great? Niggas turn all hoes, cat and gin is time to Drizzy Drake. Whoa! We're in Philly, right? See, I represent the nigga that come from the bottom. If you started from there, make some f***ing noise in I said, when I first seen my homie sitting in the casket, it's when I first went to get the ratchet. It's real. The f*** crack is itching to do me like Emmett Till. And I can smell death in the air, and you the kill. When you was still out in the field towing the Glocks, man, he was still wheelchair Jimmy rolling the block. My mama used to hold the Berettas when it was hot. Your mama used to peek out the window and call the cops. Whoa! And the nerve of y'all, tell y'all started from the bottom. When it's wheels against dying cops killing metal flying. All that bullshit you selling real music and never bomb. I got word from the 6 to get say you testify. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. When they ran up on you, kid you. I don't know how many I got. Let's turn our wheels. Let's get them. The money turn to a monster.
The next month, on September 20th, 2015, Drake and Future dropped their collab project, What a Time to Be Alive. On this tape, Drake sent more shots at Meek. On the track Digital Dash, Drake opens up the verse with shots at Meek Mill.
If you be nagging the kid, don't forget it is what it is. If you get hit, you get hit. I don't forget or forgive.
On the track Big Rings, Drake once again sent subliminal shots at Meek.
This game is different, you only get one shot with a nigga go file on you.
On his verse, Future may have dissed Meek when he references how Meek started off as a battle rapper.
You just a battle rapper, I'm an official trapper. Nigga be driving subliminal nigga, they just some jibber jabber.
On the track I'm the Plug, Drake threw shots at Meek Mill. Drake opens up his verse referencing Meek's Dreams and Nightmares intro.
Whole time I was ready, they was like, hold up, wait a minute. Hold up, wait a minute. And I was like, nah, nigga, let's get it.
On the track Change Locations, Drake fired more shots at Meek Mill.
Off all the ops and the shots that they saying. I let off first and I let off again. You will not hear from them ever again.
On the closing track, 30 for 30 Freestyle, Drake dedicated most of this track going at Meek Mill.
We ain't in it, we just ghost ride. The pen is working if you need some ghost lines.
4 days later, on September 24th, 2015, Drake graced the cover of Fader magazine where he did a cover interview. And during this interview, he spoke on the whole situation with Meek Mill. Quote, I'm just gonna bring it up because it's important to me. I was at a charity kickball game, which we won by the way, and my brother called me. He was like, I don't know if you're aware, but yo, they're trying to end us out here. They're spreading like propaganda. Where are you? You need to come here. So we all circled up at the studio and sat there as Flex went on the air and these guys flip-flopped about how they were gonna do this, that, and the third. Given the circumstances, it felt right to just remind people what it is that I do. In case your opinions were wavering at any point, this is a discussion about music, and no one's putting forth any music. You guys are going to leave this for me to do? This is how you want to play it? You guys didn't think this through at all? Nobody? You guys have high-ranking members watching over you. Nobody told you that this was a bad idea to engage in this and not have something? You're going to engage in a conversation about writing music and delivering music with me and not have anything to put forth on the table? It was weighing heavy on me. I didn't get it. I didn't get how there was no strategy on the opposite end. I just didn't understand. I didn't understand it because that's just not how we operate. I was like, I'm gonna probably just finish this, and I know how I have to finish it. This has to literally become the song that people want to hear every single night, and it's gonna be tough to exist during the summer when everybody wants to hear this song that isn't necessarily in your favor. When speaking on the ghostwriting accusations, Drake said, quote, I need sometimes individuals to spark an idea so that I can take off running. I don't mind that. And those recordings, they are what they are. And you can use your own judgment on what they mean to you. If I have to be the vessel for this conversation to be brought up, God forbid we start talking about writing and references and who takes what from where, I'm okay with it being me. It's just music at times can be a collaborative process. You know, who came up with this? Who came up with that? For me, I know that it takes me to execute every single thing that I've done up until this point, and I'm not ashamed. On October 24th, 2015, while performing at the annual Powerhouse in Philly, Meek Mill would clown Drake on stage for dancing in his Hotline Bling music video.
That's how we live it. I don't understand this what's going on now. I can't understand them. Was that a joke? No, I got the hottest chick in the game. I wish I know how to dance and do that. Drake gonna have me up here looking like Drake on this microphone stage. I'm a gangster. I got a little bit of rhythm with me, nigga. Nigga got two left feet.
On January 16th, 2016, Meek Mill dropped his EP 4 for 4 as a way to build hype for his upcoming tape Dream Chasers 4. On this EP, he would send shots back at Drake. On the track Pray For Him, Meek says that Drake is only around because he pays people, likely another ghostwriting accusation.
You around cause you paid in the dark really sprays like woman running to you when you playing but you make me put a rapper on seeing it.
On the track I'm the Plug Freestyle, Meek spits over Drake and Future's track I'm the Plug that I mentioned earlier while taking shots at Drake.
Jumpin'. Ain't nobody tellin' this ain't what they wantin'. You ain't really right it on like who just stomach.
On the track Gave Him Hope, Meek once again disses Drake, saying Drake can have the Grammys because he has the streets.
Let them singin' have the Grammys, we got the streets.
On his verse, Meek says that he couldn't believe that the majority of rap fans were siding with Drake in this beef, who he refers to as a fake.
See no right with the fake and I hesitated. Wait, is it serious?
Drake got wind of this, so he would of course respond. On January 31st, 2016, Drake dropped the track Summer 16. On this track, he took shots at Meek.
I let the diss record drop, you was staying right below me. We must have played it 100 times, you was going to bed.
The next month, on February 12th, 2016, at the NBA All-Star Game in Drake's hometown of Toronto, Canada, Drake would be coaching one of the teams in the Celebrity All-Star Game. In a post-game interview after the game, Drake threw a jab at Meek Mill when he was asked about going up against Kevin Hart, who was the opposing coach. He said, "If we're talking city versus city, it's been a tough year for you," due to Kevin Hart being from Philadelphia. On April 5th, 2016, Drake dropped the track Pop Style with Jay-Z and Kanye West listed as The Throne. Later that month, on April 29th, Drake dropped his album Views, to which The Throne were removed off the track Pop Style. The reason being was due to conflicts with Tidal and Apple, as well as Ye and Hove wanting to be removed off the track out of respect for Roc Nation artist Meek Mill. Fast forward to August 21st, 2016, Drake was performing live in Meek's hometown of Philly on his Summer 16 tour, where he would take the time to diss Meek Mill on stage, changing the lyrics to his track back to back, even claiming that Meek ain't even from Philly.
Me and all my niggas doing well. Man, you not really from Philly and they can tell. Did it by myself. And just remember, when you watch that video over and over tonight, it's not about your city. I love your city. You did that shit to your motherfucking self, boy.
After that, the beef went quiet for the remainder of 2016. On February 18th, 2017, Drake did an interview with DJ Semtex on OVO Sound Radio, where he would speak on his beef with Meek Mill. In this interview, Drake says that Meek decided to tweet at him due to some issue with Nicki Minaj, which very well could be hinting that the whole mall incident that I mentioned earlier may have been the cause of all this.
Meek Mill, at the time, due to some like issue with Nicki, whatever it was, decided to create a narrative that I don't write my own music, because that was what was convenient for him at the time, and he caught wind of it. It's unfortunate too, because Quentin was being managed by DJ Drama and Don Cannon,
Right.
who ended up really fucking his shit up, you know, because they were just like really just messy with the shit unnecessarily. But yeah, you know, he decided to create this narrative that I don't write my own music. And the reason why I never felt like necessarily pressured to like sit down and defend myself right away or go do an interview is just because, I mean, anybody that was in those rooms, right, that worked on that project, or anybody that's been in any room with me, period, knows. First of all, knows that I am one of the best writers, period. That is what I do. That's what I'm known for. I mean, I go and write for other people. I write my biggest songs, my biggest hits. The massive majority of my catalog has all been written solely by me, which is a big feat, because music is a collaborative process. You can interview Meek and you can ask him if he thinks it was worth it. I bet he'll tell you no. There's just this one-sided switch that happens with people. I don't understand it. You could ask me about a bunch of people in this interview, and you could literally ask me what my problem is with them, and I'll tell you, I don't have one. You know, I watched him say that it was about posting an album or some show that I found out about the day before that I couldn't get to in time. It's not about any of that. You know, when somebody makes a decision to say, all right, everybody's supporting this guy, maybe I should be the guy to go against him. Or they just have a series of events that gets them aggravated enough to do that. That's what happens, you know? And unfortunately, on display for the world, that was a terrible, impulsive decision because you weren't ready. And in my mind, you know, I study the game, and not only that, but I'm a very calculated thinker. I'm sitting here thinking you're ready for it. I was sitting here, like my mind was going 1,000 miles a minute. I'm thinking this goes so high up that I'm about to see the craziest shit I've ever seen. I didn't know who was gonna be on a diss track with him or what he had ready. I thought this was like 3 months in the making, and I'm just like getting blindsided. And then when I dropped Charged Up, just to see just to kind of see what the preparation level was, I realized I was like, oh wow, you're not ready.
On March 18th, 2017, Drake dropped his project More Life. On this project, he would take more shots at Meek Mill. On the track Free Smoke, Drake says that the ghostwriting rumors that Meek spread turned him into a ghost, basically saying Meek Mill has been irrelevant ever since.
How you let a kid fighting ghost writing rumors turn you to a ghost?
On November 6th, 2017, Meek Mill would be sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison after a probation violation. A couple of weeks later, on November 20th, while performing in Australia, Drake noticed a fan wearing a Free Meek Mill shirt. He would then point it out and say Free Meek Mill in support of his former friend.
I see you with the Venus 3 strike. I see you got the Free Meek Mill t-shirt. Free Meek Mill too, man, for real. You right. I see you with the control.
Fast forward to April 24th, 2018, Meek Mill would be released from prison on bail. A couple of weeks later, on May 10th, 2018, Meek Mill appeared on The Breakfast Club, where he would say that he and Drake had moved past from the beef.
What about, has Drake reached out?
No, I ain't talked to him yet. I seen him on like FaceTime the other day. They was with Ruggs and it was good energy. Even like from...
He shouted you out though.
Yeah, I was about to say that. That was good energy. He put good energy in the air. What happened. We moved past that. I think we'll have a conversation or something when we see each other and get it going.
Later that year, on September 8th, 2018, while Drake was on his Aubrey and the Three Amigos tour at a stop in Boston, Drake would bring out Meek Mill to perform Dreams and Nightmares, so it seemed as if the beef was squashed. On November 30th, 2018, Meek Mill dropped his album Championships. On this album is a track called Going Bad featuring Drake, marking their first collaboration since Rico in 2015. The track would eventually be released as a single on January 22nd, 2019, and would end up being a smash hit. After that, Meek Mill and Drake were on good terms, and later that year, on December 25th, 2019, Drake sat down with Elliott Wilson and Brian Miller for a Rap Radar interview. During this interview, he would reflect on his past beefs, and he would speak on his battle with Meek Mill, giving praise to Meek.
And so, and I can tell you firsthand, straight up, I'm not gonna, I know obviously he's made a change in his life, but I'll be the first to tell you that Meek's that guy for real. So it's like I wasn't beefing with no punk.
The next year, on May 6th, 2020, Drake would take to his IG story to wish Meek Mill a happy birthday. Fast forward all the way to February 11th, 2023. Both Meek Mill and Drake were seen together attending Michael Rubin's Super Bowl party in Phoenix, Arizona. That summer, on July 31st, 2023, on night one of Drake's It's All a Blur tour at a stop in Philadelphia, Meek Mill would walk out alongside Drake. Later that year, on September 29th, 2023, Meek Mill did an interview on Hip Hop Nation on SiriusXM where he would speak on his relationship with Drake.
Me and Drake talking to each other a lot. I see people say stuff about Drake other than this is a joint. Somebody was saying Drake Slime You Out was corny. I text him, I was like, I don't think Slime You Out corny, and I would tell you if I thought it was corny. I just ain't think the song was corny. And that was one of the songs we listened to with all the little chicks, but on the internet, now we got it like that where we could like be brutal. I thought it...
The next year, in 2024, Drake would end up beefing with a lot of his former allies, and most notably, his beef with Kendrick Lamar turned into diss tracks going back and forth. On May 9th, 2024, Meek Mill took to Twitter to weigh in on the Drake and Kendrick beef, saying, quote, I give y'all my honest without speaking on Drake. Bike life culture, Meek billionaire culture connected to rap, really been through poverty. The system Meek really been changing laws. Meek showed the most new artists love with my platform, Meek. My PR has been off for a year or two, so they've been mutating my name, but when I'm gone, they will give it up. I'ma just keep grinding. The boy, meaning Drake, and Kendrick have their own lanes and quality they great at also. I gotta say, what I offer to the game, every time it can't be minimized. I'm starting to like these convos if we in the era of facts. I've been all the jungles, lifting communities up for years, and my rap skills are incredible, like really, really good. In late 2024, news broke that Drake was suing Universal for defamation and accusing UMG of pushing Kendrick's diss record towards him in what Drake believes was a ploy to get him up out of the game. On November 26th, 2024, Meek took to Twitter to chime in on the lawsuit, saying, "But Meek be trippin'." On January 16th, 2025, Meek took to Twitter to respond to a tweet asking how he felt about the Drake lawsuit, to which he would reveal that Roc Nation allegedly told him not to drop his DC4 mixtape in 2016 due to the beef with Drake, and weighed in on the Drake lawsuit, saying, "Label told me don't drop nothing. I went against that and dropped DC4 mixtape. Shari Bryant bagged me herself, 90K first week to heat up. I couldn't make any playlist either. That had me confused, a little losing confidence, but I knew 80% was campaign, influence for the net only. It all comes down to who know who. Once I started owning companies, I wanted to be in convo with the high-level shakers and owners if I made more than 100 million on a label, because not only the business I got, and I deal with the top people at companies to get top results. I'm a champ. I lost many things, I learned from them, and move on. 2025, my team right now, I'm gonna make 100 million off rap because I was in a system so long, I'ma break that Joan. After that, nothing else was said, as Drake and Meek Mill seemed to be on good terms up to this point. Who do you think won the battle? Drake or Meek Mill?